Hiya, and welcome to another podcast. I haven't done one for ages. So I've got some very special people with me today. In my mind, these people are like proper old-time blues. And of course, we got Pauline and Natalie. So Pauline, hello, how are you, darling?
I'm very well, thank you, Pete. Yeah.
Call me whatever you want.
Steve,
Yeah.
Steve, sorry.
I'm going to tell him who you are in a minute. Natalie, you all right, love?
Yeah.
And we've got an old timer with us. How you doing, Pete?
I'm all right, I think, mate.
Took you about half an hour to get on, didn't it?
Hello,
Finally on.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
worth
so-
waiting for,
so-
trust me.
So the reason we got Pauline and Natalie here today is Pauline is the widow of one of my favourite blues players from years ago. And I'm sure you all remember him, Johnny Vincent, the blonde bomber at the blues, one of my childhood heroes. And you got a lot of fond memories of John as well, didn't you, Pete?
Absolutely, mate. It's I started going in '68, and obviously, like Johnny was an integral part of that blues forward line at the time, and yeah, absolutely, he was ahead of his time as a footballer, weren't he?
Yeah, I think he was one of those players that sometimes used to play balls that other players didn't see. You know, he played balls into space, but he was just a lovely player. You know,
It's interesting actually, because a lot of the comments on the post was that if he'd have been born perhaps 20 years later, I think he'd have, well, God knows where he would have ended up. And a lot of people have said that about him.
And if you had, you wouldn't be with us.
True.
There you go.
So, no, but he was a lovely footballer. And that forward line, that team, I'm going to try and remember the team now, if I can. Herriot, Martin Green, Wiley, Sharples, probably, Beard, Bridges. I don't think Bridges ever played. Did Bridges play with
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
He did, yeah.
Bridges, Greenough, Pickering, John.
But Vaden, Vincent, Somerville.
Yeah, Summerhill, Phil Summerhill. Of course, you're good friends with, or you did you get in touch with Cherry?
I did, yes. I messaged her and she messaged me back, and we are going to talk.
That's nice.
We're having a good catch up, and she mentioned me to Maureen Pendry.
Oh, that's nice.
I told Maureen that you've been in touch, and yeah, we'll have a good catch up.
Yeah, because of course we had Gary Pendry, Ron Wiley as well. That team for me is the one that will always stand out in my mind, you know, because they were the first ones. Yeah. I'm a little bit older than Pete, you know, not a lot, but so I probably, as a school kid, that was a team that I absolutely adored, you know. In those days, Pete, and I'm sure Pauline and you, Natalie, can remember. I'm not sure if you remember it, Natalie. Did you go down?
I don't remember specific names like you and Mum do, but I've got really fond memories of going as a toddler, as a young kid. Always went to watch my dad at Birmingham, but I don't think as a kid you ever understood the momentum of it all. I just knew Dad was Dad, and to me he was just Dad. It was only when we used to go out and Dad would get bombarded with autographs and photos, which he did, but to me he was just Dad. Do you know what I mean?
And it's hard to try and explain to like kids now. I say kids, like people in the 30s, even 40s, that we used to regularly get gates of 50,000 plus at St Andrews.
Yeah,
I can remember being a school kid and being absolutely crushed in the cup, you know. But I remember a Sheffield Wednesday replay in the FA Cup in '68. I was only like 10, and we went to Hillsborough and we drew. Dennis Thwaite scored the goal, R.I.P. Dennis died, didn't he?
That was awful. What happened to him?
Awful, yeah. And then we brought him back down St Andrews, and we beat him. I think we beat him 2-1 in the replay. It's 54,000 people there on a Tuesday night. You know, I mean, the bloody hell was that all about?
I'll tell you what was lovely, when Birmingham heard that Dad had passed, they got in touch with me. And even all those years on since he played for them, they all came out in black armbands to show their respect for Dad. And I watched it on the and that really touched me, Steve. I just thought, how respectful is that for them?
Yeah,
and
nice.
Even at his funeral, they said the most beautiful flowers, didn't they, with BCFC on it.
Yeah.
So even years later, they were so respectful.
And most of that team you've just mentioned came to his funeral, which was lovely.
Which is lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice,
few drinks to be had that day, let me tell you.
Do you remember those games, Pete? Like the Sheffield Wednesday one, the Arsenal game with the Bridges overhead kick and all that.
Oh, absolutely. Like you say, I started going in '68, and but my first hero, I ain't gonna lie, was Fred Pickering, sort of thing. I mean, Fred scored 2 goals in the first match I'd ever been to, and that's the one that you idolise, isn't it? But obviously, you know, I mean, there was the Trevor Hockey. He was sort of like
the George Best,
the George, you know, the fifth Beatle or whatever you call him. But of course, there was this flipping blonde lad. He stood out a lot because of his blonde hair as well, and he's had some dodgy haircuts down the years as well, hasn't he?
He used to have a crop at one time, I think.
I was going to say, he's like a skinhead at one time, wasn't he? But there's something about the name, isn't there? I don't know whether it's like because you're thinking of like Gene Vincent or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's almost like got this sort of like rock starry, pop starry name about Mr. Cool Johnny Vincent.
And he was brilliant on the pitch, wasn't he? I mean, you know, I used to love watching John, and I always remember he always used to wear black boots. You know, and not everyone did at the time, but you had the odd ones with little bits of colour on. John's always black, and I always remember saying to me, "Mum, I want some Johnny Vincent boots." You know, so I got the from Timpson's, you know, like the black ones.
He used to tell me stories about. He never told other people. He never bragged, but he did tell me a story about Bestie once. He said they were playing away or somewhere. Anyway, I can't remember the match. Can you, Mum? Whatever it was. Anyway, they finished the match and he was playing against Bestie, and Bestie threw him his car keys and he said, "John, go and get the car because the paps are out the front." So Dad went and got the car, picked Bestie up at the back, and they went into Manchester or have a night out.
No, Manchester United.
There
I think
you go.
it was in the cup.
And the idea was they were going back to Bestie's house to have a few drinks. So Bestie's come up to my dad in this nightclub and he went, "John, I'm not coming home." He said, "Take the keys," he said, "and go back to the flat." He said, "Why, George?" He said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, I've just met Miss World." And I think when I look back, Dad said there was cuttings in the newspaper about Bestie with Miss World. He said, "No, I was there the night that he met her." And I don't think my dad surfaced for 2 days, did he, Mum? Or was it 3?
I think that game may well have
3 weeks
been the one where we got beat 6-2 at Old Trafford, I think.
Yeah, what happened was we went in to another drink in the players, whatever after, because I went to Manchester that game, saw that game, and he was brought her into the players' lounge.
Oh, did he?
This Miss World, yeah, she was lovely.
I should imagine she was, not she was Miss World.
Yeah, you would hope she would be, wouldn't you? So, all right, then I'm going to ask you now, Pauline. Right, how did you meet John? Sorry,
Steve. Yes, sorry. One thing that's always fascinated me, though, like, I mean, obviously, like, we got going on about Johnny being ahead of his time and whatever, but I mean, like, we had a fair bit of dough got thrown at that team, didn't we? And it just shows you the mark of the kid that he got in the team early, because of his potential, and he more than held his own against these big money players. But I was sort of like reading, he was actually born in Brierley Hill, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Cosley. Yeah.
I was just wondering how he come to get into Blues. Did we scout him? Was there other clubs in for him? Obviously, he was on Albion's doorstep, Wolves and whatever. Or was it always going to be Blues?
Something to do with the washing machine, Pete?
No.
Was it, Mum?
The scouts used to go and watch him play, and Albion were interested, and the Wolves apparently, but they spoke to his parents and convinced him that Birmingham was the best place to go.
Didn't they promise Nan a washing machine?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they did.
Was
From
was that Don
Probably
Dorman?
his mum and dad a washing machine for
They
him to
did.
sign. Yeah,
They did, yeah.
Was it Don Dorman that scouted him?
You're right, Steve. It was Don Dorman. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did I meet him? Did you say, Steve?
We want the truth.
No, he applied for a job on the news.
I will tell you the truth. Yeah, I applied for a. Do you remember when they used to have the box numbers when you applied for a job in the mail?
Yeah.
You applied to a box number rather than the place, yeah. And I did that, and after about 3 weeks, this letter came through, Birmingham City Football Club. And I thought, oh my God. And I used to go with my dad when I was a kid, always went to watch the Blues, to be secretary to David Exall, who was the public relations officer at the time.
I remember him.
Interview, yeah, okay. Went for another interview and I got the job. And then it was Johnny Schofield's testimonial game.
I've never seen him play actually, but
Yeah.
that would have been early 60s. No.
He would have been around 63, 64.
Yeah.
When he was at, yeah.
Anyway, after the game, I think the groundsman was called Bill Clinton. And he called Bill over. And then he called John over and he said to Bill, do you know, he said to John, this woman has always wanted to meet you. Well, no, I didn't. Anyway, he said, I'll come and see you in the office tomorrow, which he did. He said, can I take you out for lunch? Yeah, and the rest is history.
As they say.
That was in the December. We got married in the June. He said, if I let you out, I won't see you again. And that was the truth.
Mum was a bit of a raver back then, you see. She was in the nightclubs. I think he thought, if I let her go, I'll never see her again, and he never did.
I've seen the photo of her in the office with her legs crossed and a 1960s miniskirt on.
Pregnant with me as well, actually.
Pregnant, yeah, I was with her, yeah.
Yeah.
He was what?
Pregnant with the photo, because we were looking at them the other day, and Mum said, you're in this photo. I said, I'm not. She said, you are. She said, I was pregnant.
Right. Happy days, yeah.
Yeah, so
the manager at the time then was Stan Cullis?
Stan Cullis was the manager, yeah.
How did John get on with him? You know, how...
Oh, really well. Not a problem. The one he probably didn't get on with was Freddie Goodwin. And I don't know why, because he just, I don't know, I think John got the vibes that he wasn't going to be used too much. And that Freddie Goodwin wanted him to go. But who was the chairman at the time? Clifford Coombs.
Clifford Coombs, yeah.
Yeah. He invited us over to his house for tea on one Sunday. And he tried to say to John, look, whatever happens, don't leave, you know, stay with us. But he said, no, because I want to play every week.
Which I get that, Mum.
Yeah. And that's why we ended up in Middlesbrough.
It was hard to sort of remember when John stopped playing in that team.
Yeah.
But I know you said that he was substituted at Cardiff by Trevor Francis, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was Trevor's first game. So that would have been the week before the Bolton game, obviously, where he scored the 4 goals.
Yeah.
I think Dad said, I remember talking to Dad about Trevor, that wasn't Trevor like an apprentice when Dad was in the first team? Yeah.
But and I think that's where his heart lay at Birmingham. He was never the same after that, Steve.
You don't think so?
No. He didn't want to go. No.
Was it because I think it was George Smith when it peaked that came in an exchange with John.
That's right. It's quite funny, really, because you couldn't get 2 different players than George Smith and Johnny, like the ball player. George Smith was the grafter, the getting stuck in bloke. Yeah. The only similarity was they both had flipping blonde hair. But the crazy thing was that after because they'd gone in a swap deal or something, or 40,000 pounds.
George came to Birmingham and John went to Middlesbrough, yeah.
And so then after John had gone to Cardiff, hadn't it? Yeah, after he left Middlesbrough, George Smith ended up at Cardiff as well. So they both ended up in the same team playing with each other. So, you know, was there any reason for Johnny to have gone? The fact that they could play in the same side as each other, or more it was like Freddie Goodwin's idea that, you know, we need a few people to look after Trevor.
It could have been because, you know, he would be what you would call now, I think, George Smith. He would be one that sat in front of the back four, wouldn't he? You know, and he'd do all the hard work and then give the ball to the people that, you know, that could do something with it. And it was probably just, Trevor might have been a bit, John might have been a little bit surplus to requirements because there was a lot of, like you said, Pete, there was a lot of money in that team. And when you got Francis there as well, there's an awful lot of competition for places, you know. Did he get any options other than Middlesbrough, Pauline?
Oh, before that, over the years, Brian Clough wanted him, Tommy Docherty wanted him. There was a lot of interest while he was playing for Birmingham.
Why didn't he go, Mum?
Well, the one time apparently, the press let it out. I don't know where it was, which team it was, but because the press let it out, Birmingham said no, they should have told us first. So that,
Nothing changes, huh?
Pardon?
Nothing changes. I'll say that, but of course it does because I don't suppose John had an agent, did he?
No, they didn't back in them days, those things,
no.
You know, and it's weird. It's like, you know, when you meet new people, they say, well, where do you come from? And I go, oh, well, I lived in Middlesbrough, I lived in Cardiff, then we moved to America. And I feel like I've been a bit of a gypsy, really, but it was all circumstantial because wherever Dad
around football,
we had to move, didn't we, Mum?
Who was the manager at Middlesbrough when he went there, Paula?
Middlesbrough. Stan Anderson. Anderson.
Yeah.
Is that right, Pete? Stan
That's
Anderson.
right. Yeah. Stan Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was he like?
Oh, lovely man. Yeah, you know.
You loved it in Middlesbrough, didn't you?
Pardon?
You loved it in Middlesbrough.
Oh yeah, I could have stayed there. But then again, I enjoyed it in Cardiff as well, so I could have stayed there. Jimmy Schooler was the manager at Cardiff, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah. How long was John at Middlesbrough for?
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So
then you had news agents, didn't you, in Cardiff? You opened a news agent so you could look after
I told you that last week, didn't I? We had the news agents, and then the football club come and said, no, you can't have this business and play football.
Well, Dad didn't do it, you did.
He let the paper boys in there, didn't he, in the morning?
Yeah, he did.
Did you?
and as he's opening the papers, you know, he cut his finger and he had to go to hospital, and that was a good excuse for the football club, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. God, I remember that. It was quite a bad cut, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I do remember that.
So Middlesbrough, he was pretty happy. I can't remember. Would they have been in Division 2 then, Pete?
They was, yeah. I mean, it was they was just starting to get a decent side together, really. And then Jack Charlton come and took over from Stan Anderson, and that's when they went and got promotion. Like, but I've just got to ask you, Pauline, like, you know, with it when he gets his moves, so he says, "Love, we're going to Middlesbrough," okay, we're going down to Cardiff. How quickly do you have to suddenly, you know, up sticks and follow him down there or up there or?
Straight away, Pete.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough, we stayed in a hotel for 3 months at Yarm, the Tall Trees at Yarm.
Oh, it's nice up there, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, honestly. While we bought the house, it took that long. So Natalie was only a baby, really. So that wasn't too good with her being in the hotel for 3 months. But yeah, that's how long it took. So yeah, it's
the life you marry into, then, basically, isn't it? You know that
it is.
Yeah.
Of course, it was different then because You get players now that, you know, live in London, play in bloody wherever, you know, they can get airplanes, they can, you know, it's completely different. It's a completely different kettle of fish. I mean, in those days, I mean, all right, they earned more money than your average man, but they didn't earn
what they earn now.
life-changing money like they do now, you know. I mean, John, I don't know, like I can remember players being on £100 a week, you know, and thinking, bloody hell, that's a lot of money, you know, when I was a kid. And obviously it was, but it's not like now, you know, when they're on £50,000 a week. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable, isn't it?
And I think, you know what, when I look back, I often think, Steve, it shaped me as a person as well, because, you know, throughout my childhood, it was, you know, you'd settle in a school and then it'd be like a phone call, we're moving. So you have to, and as a kid, that's quite an upheaval, really.
Of course it is.
For me, I think that's why I went on to do singing, because I've always been quite an outgoing person. But then when I look back, I had no choice.
Yeah.
You know, you could either go to a new school and not make new friends, or just get on with it and do it.
I've got to say, you've got the look of John about you, you know.
I do, but then I know that Mum sent you a photo of my son.
You go, this is you've seen it, Pete, didn't you?
Oh, it's absolutely. It's one of them that you have to look twice at, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ.
I mean, even his dad, and I hasten to add, he's his dad, but even his dad said, you know, there's no likeness to Roy. He is the spit of his granddad, but not just to look at. He's got his granddad way. It's almost like I always said, Dad went, and they sent me Jack, and he's like Dad reincarnated. He's got the same personality. He's full of fun. He's mischievous. And I often think, God, if my dad was here now, you pair would be in serious trouble together.
Yeah. And of course, Jack played for the academy, didn't he? But decided he didn't want to carry on.
Yeah, he got. It was a bit like, you know, the X Factor when they go for the auditions. It was 12 weeks of. No, it's not called an audition, whatever you want to call it.
It's a trial, really, isn't it?
There was like 1,200 kids that turned up, and every week it was awful, Steve. Actually, they call the names out and they say, "Right, you guys haven't got through," and then the people that were left there, please stay. And then it got down to the final week, and I can't tell you how I felt. It was.
He scored 2 goals.
No, that was when he got picked, and they called him in and said, "Right, you've made it." And I think there was 16 out of like 1,200 got in. Anyway, they took Jack into the room to sign, and I'll never forget it. And it's Dad all over again. And they said, "Are you happy that you're signing for Birmingham?" He went, "Yeah." He went, "But I'd rather be signing for Barcelona, to be honest." And I was like, "Oh, Jack, what have you said?" But yeah, and then it was just. I think it was a lot of pressure. I mean, as you know, Pete, they controlled his diet. He couldn't see his friends. He felt quite isolated. And he made the decision at 13 that he didn't want the pressure. And the manager rang me up, Guy, and said, "Please talk to him, because, you know, he's going to follow his granddad, basically." And I said, "How can I dictate to a 13-year-old? He was too old." And even now, he's 23, he still plays football, obviously not at that level. But there's a lot of what ifs now with Jack. What do you think I could have done, Mum? And I think he should have always carried on.
There's not many kids get that opportunity, you know, and I think I probably don't realise the enormity of that decision at 13. You know, you can't.
Walking the dog one Saturday night, and he said, "Stop, Nan, I've got something to tell you." I don't know how I got back to the house.
I was in Spain, wasn't I?
Yeah. But the funny part about it is, most days he lives here. He does between his mum's and here, right? And it's like having John back.
Yeah.
It's like being married to John again. Because he plays golf most days, and he comes home and he starts, "Well, this hole I've done this, and this hole I've done that."
And he's very vain.
Oh my God.
Loves his clothes like Dad did.
And I think, what have I done to have it twice over?
But like I said to Steve earlier, Pete, I think you know, I often think, I think if my dad had been alive when Jack played for the academy, it would have been totally different.
Might have been, yeah.
Because Dad would have guided him through that pressure. And I think, you know, I don't know whether Jack would have made it. Nobody knows because it's hard.
No.
But I think it would be a different story if my dad had been alive.
My lad started playing football when he was 7 and whatever, and it's almost it's a meat grinder, isn't it? When it goes into the pro thing, and there's so many kids, and a lot of it comes from parents as well. Is the first thing they want to do, go to school. Oh yeah, my lad's playing for Villa. Yeah. My lad's playing for. Although why you'd want to say that, I don't know. My lad's playing for the Blues. Mine's been picked for the West Brom. This, that, and then the next week they're told, "Sorry, you're not good enough." The kid all interest in his football, and to make it, you have to be driven to have that will. Whereas when you're playing with your mates, it's all about a team, isn't it?
We were saying this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
Do you know, even at the age of Jack was just 12 when he got signed for Birmingham, and even at that age, it was ruthless. So, however you played your last game was the decision as to whether you would be picked for the next game. And I probably wrongly, looking back, would say to the manager, he's 11 years old, 12 years old. And you say, but yeah, this is the reality now. This is how it is. So I'm sorry, we're not going to pussyfoot around them. It's a hard industry to be in. Do you know what I mean? But I just felt at that age. But then again, if you want it, and you'll do it, won't you? Yeah.
So if Jack was there at 12, then Jude would have been there, wouldn't he? Because Jude would have been 10.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Yeah, but you can't look back, Steve, because I'll get quite sad.
I mean, it's interesting for us. It's interesting for us, and for all of our the people that watch our podcasts, and particularly like the project group, to have a little sort of nose into what it's like behind the scenes when all we see is the player. So, and the background of all this, you know, with John and then with Jack and John's moves and how it affected everyone, how it affects your life, you know, and all those things are things that people don't see. And something I hate, and Peter will tell you this, I think Peter's saying, you know, you get players slagged off on social media now, you know. I mean, Scott Hogan got it in a really bad way, you know. And what people don't understand is it doesn't just affect Scott Hogan; it affects the family. You know, you know. I'm using Scott Hogan just as an example. I don't know what happened with him personally, but you know, Scott Hogan's got a wife. Scott Hogan's got kids. You know, and it reflects on that as well. So when people are lambasting, you know, your dad or your husband or your granddad on a pitch and calling him all the names under the sun, it doesn't just affect the player; it affects lots of people.
It's so true, and I you know, as an adult, I look back at Mum's life, and she was a trooper, really, because you know, it was all about Dad. And even when he got the phone call to say, do you want to play for Bicentennials in America? When I look back now,
where did he go to in America?
Connecticut Bicentennials was.
Okay.
And I look back now, I didn't understand the I don't know implications as a kid. But Mum never moaned, you know. It was the case. I remember coming home from school one day and Dad saying, "Well, we're moving to America," and it was like, "Really? Okay." And Mum just got on with it. And
but that's what you do. You marry a footballer. You've got to.
You marry into the lifestyle, Steve. And there's no. They used moaning. I mean, Mum didn't see her parents for however long we were over there. She didn't see her friends. So we were based in Connecticut. Dad was hardly ever there. He'd be flying to Miami, he'd be flying to Tampa Bay, Seattle. He was all over America. Yeah. And my poor mum.
Oh, I'm not poor.
No, but she was. Okay, we lived with other footballers' wives, and I was 8 at the time, so I can remember going to school over there, which was tough. So you had company, but it was hard, wasn't it, Mum?
Yeah,
it was hard.
And I mean, you're lucky in a way that he was just talking
Sorry.
about Scott Hogan, but John was loved by the supporters.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
Yes, he was.
and he was. I speak to people now about John. I never hear anyone say a bad word about him as a
No,
footballer, as a person, and he's very, very well liked when he had
Yeah.
his pubs,
Yes, he was.
That move he had to America was made at a time when American football was absolutely booming. You had all superstars there. I mean, obviously, there's the famous picture up in the
LA.
travel of the LA and whatever, but they were all over there. George Best, Franz Beckenbauer, you name it.
Bobby Moore.
Rodney Marsh.
It was a who's who of football royalty. And Johnny to get over there, that says a lot about Johnny, that does, as a footballer.
I've got that photo of him and Pele. I've got it on my wall in my lounge, and
brilliant.
Because I've got it as you come down the stairs, and I quite often look up at him and think, bloody hell, Dad, you did all right. He played it. Yeah.
He had a phone call off Bobby Thompson, the Bobby Thompson that played at Wolves and Birmingham.
I know Bobby Thompson. He was a very good friend of my dad's. Bobby Thompson was.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I mean, my dad's a staunch Villa fan. I'm like I'm the blue sheep of the family. I am. My brothers and sisters all my girls are Blues fans, but my dad's side are all Villa fans. And Bobby Thompson, when he went to play for Blues, he used to get my dad tickets. It's the only time my dad would ever go through the door of Blues, and that was because Bobby Thompson moved there. I remember going and watching Bobby with my dad. I didn't go to football often with my dad.
Well, it was a phone call off him. He asked John, "Would you like to come to America?" He started it going, and
so did Bobby Thompson go to America?
Yeah, he was there with us. Well, in fact, I was with his wife and kids, because we had these big houses on the. They were absolutely fantastic, beautiful. Yeah, and with about 8 bedrooms. So there's 2 families in one house.
Yeah,
and I was with Bobby Thompson and his wife and kids. Yeah.
So that couldn't have been easy.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Was it, Mum?
It was hard. And then they moved us all around, and then I went to live with a Portuguese woman whose husband was Peter Moyer, I think his name was. And when they went away, he said, when they go away, he said, I'm going to buy you a dictionary so you can talk to her.
Typical dad, isn't it?
No, so he did.
Oh, God.
So I must have spent a few hours every day just looking for the different words in the dictionary.
I remember.
She couldn't speak a word.
There was no Google Translate in them days.
No. The bloody dictionary, yeah. I remember.
I think what was nice as well, when he, I'm going back just before his illness, he used to go and do the talks down at Birmingham. I used to ring him up, and he'd quite often ring me and say, come on now, let's go. And I used to go with him. And one time he did the tombola, didn't he, Mum?
Yeah, I've got the picture
on the pitch.
I know, yeah.
And I was so proud. To be on the pitch with my dad and all of them like shouting his name. I can't explain to you, Pete, how it felt. So proud of him.
My proudest moment was when Jack scored at Birmingham.
Yeah, Jack scored at Birmingham.
I was so proud of him. But going back to America, do you remember Jimmy Barron, the goalkeeper?
Yeah,
Jim Barron. Yeah, he was at Wolves, and he went to coaching, didn't he? And
right. Well, he was with us. He was the keeper. He was with us in America as well.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, they might have had some fun, but us girls did as well.
No secrets, Pauline. Come on.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
He's probably, John's probably listening somewhere now, thinking, what did you do?
I do remember. I can't remember details. We had it. Well, I didn't. I was only 8, but I think the wives had a few parties.
No,
no.
Yeah, we did.
She did.
But we got invited by some pilots' wives and people like that, because these houses we had belonged to millionaires. It was a holiday home. So they invited us to a breakfast Christmas party.
What?
So I said to the girls, I tell you what, we'll invite them back to our place. Well, tell you what, they never come again. We had straw up there all in cocktail dresses, all dressed up. We went in jeans and t-shirts.
No, you can take the girl out of Birmingham.
Exactly, Pete. Steve, exactly. You just said it, yeah.
But you know, Steve, it's funny what you said earlier before we came on live about my dad, how he Steve was saying how dad came across quite quiet. And I guess that's the only side of him that, you know, the supporters saw. And I was saying to Steve, he was a larger than life character. He was borderline mischievous. He was always doing something he shouldn't be doing.
I was saying, Pete, that, you know, if you know, like when you watch matches, you know, you'd say, yeah, okay, like Trevor Rocky's going to have a fairly big, you know, he's going to be a bit loud and challenging referees and that. Well, you're looking at John. I would, if someone said, "What do you think his personality would be like?" I would think he'd be pretty quiet by looking at him on the pitch, you know.
Not at all. I was saying to Steve, Pete, he came to live with me. I don't think I told you this, Steve, but he did come to live with me for 6 months when he got diagnosed with cancer before he had his operation. And I can honestly say I didn't want him to go because he was just the life and soul, wasn't he, Mum? He woke up happy, he went to bed happy, and he made me laugh every day. And I'm glad he did come to live with me now, because we didn't know at the time it was going to, you know, what was going to happen. But I've got so many lovely memories of him, memories of him that you can't take away memories, can you?
Yeah, I think the thing is as well, you've got to remember, Natalie, a lot of other people have got lovely memories of him that didn't even really know it, you know, and you should be really proud of that, because it's like, you know, it isn't like, yeah, we can all be proud of our dads, but not many people can say, bloody hell, like my dad's had 52,000 people watching him and singing his name and loving him, you know. It's a big deal, isn't it, you know?
Yeah.
Pauline?
Yes.
But yeah, I was going to say, from hearing all these lovely stories about Johnny, thinking everything's going through my head now, thinking what the perfect job that he could have ever been going into was the licensed trade, wasn't it?
Exactly.
You know, if ever a job was hallmark for a bloke, you know, or a couple, it was there. So was that a quick discussion between you two, or how did that come about, going into the license?
It was while he was playing in America. What do I do when I go back?
Yeah.
And yeah, he said, "What about the license trade?" And that fitted me as well perfectly. Yeah, I loved it as well. So yeah.
What was his first pub?
Travellers.
How was it?
Yeah,
Travellers Rest. We were there for 5 years, and it was a pretty rough pub when we went there. You know,
I used to live in West Heath, sort of thing, and obviously I knew quite a few of the blood who used to drink in the Travellers and whatever. And of course, you got the pub, the Dukes, opposite, hadn't you?
Yeah, opposite, downstairs.
Downstairs, and they never come back out again.
Let me tell you, Pete, that was a bit like the Travellers with Mum and Dad. They never got out again.
No, the Dukes. No, I never went there. I never went in the Dukes. It was.
I did.
Yeah, but I think the Travellers was a pub that sometimes never used to shut. We had so much fun, honestly. We were there for 5 years, and then we moved to the Barrel, an entertainment pub.
Is that the one in
Langley, off the Walker Road?
Yeah.
I remember the license plate above the Travellers. Jonathan Victor Vincent.
That's right, you got it.
Of course, you know, it's not one of them things. You know, I wonder what his middle name is, but he just sort of like, that's Johnny Vincent's book.
Yeah,
but yeah, you had a few characters drinking Travellers, didn't you?
So many characters. It was just wonderful, honestly. Yeah. So many
characters. My mum, I don't know if you ever watched EastEnders with Peggy Mitchell.
Oh, here we go.
But literally, back in the day, it was my mum they were scared of. Because my mum, let me tell you, I can remember, like, I was never allowed in the pub when it was open, always when it was closed. But I remember coming down one time and my mum jumping over the bar. There was tables, chairs going, and my dad going, "What are you doing?" She said, "Right, that's it, get out." And I remember she was only little, but my God, they respected her. You were fierce, Mum.
Yeah, I think in a
That
place
wasn't
like
the
that,
Jews family giving you grip, was it? I said that
Sorry.
that wasn't the Jews family giving you grip, was it?
Oh, was it, Mum?
no.
Can't remember his name.
I didn't want a name drop, but
I remember when
What you
John
did.
moved to the Barrel. He moved to the Barrel, and I did the Travellers for about 6 weeks on my own before I moved. And I thought one Saturday night, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to the Barrel and listen to the entertainment because,
The entertainment there was fantastic.
So I'm going to go. So when I was there, the barmaid at the Travellers rang, because there was no mobiles then, rang the pub, the Barrel, to say, could it tell me to come back quick as I could? So when I got back, it was like sawdust in the bar. No tables, no chairs, nothing. But two of the guys that Johnny Orton and his mates were sat there in the bar, champagne on ice. Come and sit with us and have a drink. The Black Maria had come and gone by this time. But you know what? It was just wonderful. It was lovely. But
What nice memories, aren't they?
Wonderful memories.
And you know,
Yeah.
Steve, because I said to you, I went on to have a professional career in singing. I think if Mum and Dad had never made the move to the Barrel, I would have never got the want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to watch the acts every Friday and Saturday and think, I could do this. I could have a bit of this, like, you know. And I think that determined my career as well. It's funny, isn't it? How determined.
Where did you go after the Barrel, Pauline?
I can't remember. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you obviously came out of the pub trade at some point.
Yeah. We got off. I'll tell you while we were at the Travellers, we had someone come to say, did we want the Austin Sports and Social Club? Do you remember that, Pete?
Yeah, it's still there, isn't it?
You remember?
There, yeah.
And we could have had that, and I thought, no, not
Did
really.
you go to the Horticultural Club?
Yeah, Handsworth Horticultural Club, Oxhill Road.
Jesus.
What's the matter?
Yeah.
Horticultural Club.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, was you working for M&B?
Yeah, M&B, yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like you've gone from like being sort of like footballer's wife, right? We're moving here, to at least being in the pub trade. Although you were offered places, you had more of a say. Or I don't fancy this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They wanted us to. Was it the Holt? Is it in Aston? Did they? They mentioned that to us.
Imagine John running that.
And how can you do this? How can you? You know, that ridiculous. It was Saturday when the game was on. Stupid.
That nameplate wouldn't have lasted long, would it?
Not with us.
All right, Pauline, you can't have a blues wag going to work in the Holt.
I was never, Steve, I was never a wag.
She was. Don't believe that. She so was.
One of the first wags.
She was.
Yeah, he played for Atherstone as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, he went to Atherstone.
Yeah, he did. What happened one day when he was at Cardiff? A knock at the door, and I went to the door, and who should be stood there but Gil Merrick? And he said, I've been to the football club. They don't usually give addresses out, he said, but I told them who I was, who I wanted to see, blah, blah, blah. So I've ended up here. So he come in and he had a cup of tea. We waited for John to come home from training. He had a good talk together, they did. And then that's how we ended up going to Atherstone.
What was Gil Merrick's connection to Atherstone? Was he the manager?
Born there, that was his area. That was.
Yeah, but was he the manager of the club or something?
I don't know. He was obviously, someone said to him, go and see John. And so, I don't know. I don't know why, but who was there at the time? Jeff Astle.
How was he?
Yeah. Do you remember Stevie Hunt from Coventry? Is
Steve
it?
Hunt, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one or two. But no, that when they went away.
Ernie Hunt.
Huh?
Not Ernie Hunt.
Stevie, he ended up playing for Villa, and he'd actually moved over.
No, Ernie Hunt, isn't it?
Yeah. Ernie Hunt played for Coventry.
Coventry, yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that I think he got a different time there. But Ernie Hunt, remember the Ernie Hunt and Willie Carr goal? With the donkey kick.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I think Steve Hunt was later.
No, I didn't mean Steve Hunt, Ernie Hunt.
Anyway, it was a hunt.
Careful how you say that, Steve.
Oh,
Like that. But and then from Atherstone, that's when we went to America.
Yeah. So Pauline, sorry, it's all right. When they said about you being the first wag, like, yeah.
I was never away.
So how was there much bitchiness or whatever between the players' wives, or it weren't like that at all? Then you just
Never.
all
No, it was like one big family. We had so much fun and enjoyed each other's company. That's Birmingham, Middlesbrough, and Cardiff.
There's none of these. I'm considerably richer than you.
Oh no, none of us have got anything to brag about.
Yeah.
No, none of that at all. No. I mean, when I worked at Birmingham, I was on more money than John. Yeah, it's true. I was on £40 a week, and he was on 27 at the time when I met him. And then when he was 21, he had a new contract, and he went on £45 a week. It doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound right, does it?
No. It's crazy, isn't it?
These days, it's a completely different world, isn't it?
Of course it is.
I mean, you look at like when the World Cup, when the Beckhams went and Cheryl Cole and all that, and they went away. But it's all about social media now, isn't it? About getting yourself so. And it was so. And I actually think a better world back in those days.
The thing that changed it really for good was Sky Sports, you know. That's the thing that changed it. Up until then, footballers were still sort of, you know, they had more money, but they weren't like they are now. Suddenly, the demand went through the roof, didn't it? And
they've all got sponsorships, haven't they? And they've got this £1 million here, £1 million there. It's so different now.
The thing is, Steve, I don't know about the others, but for John, it was playing for the badge. He played for Birmingham. Yeah. And that's all he wanted. Not the money. Well, yeah, obviously, yeah, but he was proud to play for Birmingham.
Yeah. And we all have great memories of him, you know, we do, you know, to this day. That team, to me, as I was saying to you earlier, is always, for me, the first team that I remember at the Blues. And like I did earlier, you can still name them, you know. And he was an integral part of that. And I think he sort of was a bit of a hallmark of the Blues style of play. You know, he was a stylish footballer, wasn't he? You know, his movement was good. He was just a great. I used to love watching John play.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched him all the time. But
you don't like that.
I was just sitting here thinking, Steve, I can remember when I'd met my husband, who I've been married to for 30 years now, and I took him back to meet my dad. And obviously, my dad's background was football. He talked about football, didn't he, Mum, non-stop? Golf. And he said to Roy, he said, well, what team do you support? They remember, this is the first time they've met. And he went, I don't. He went, pardon? What do you mean you don't? He went, well, I've got to be honest, John. He said, I don't really know anything about football. And my dad sort of looked at him as though he'd gone absolutely mental. And he wasn't rude. And then when he got home, he went, "No," he said, "Get rid of him now." He said, "He's not cute, that." And inevitably, he absolutely idolised Roy and Roy idolised my dad. They got such a lovely relationship.
I think that
They
was,
had.
yeah, we all had. I mean, I met Paul, and eventually we got married. But what I think was lovely, that we were all very fond of each other.
Yeah.
You know, Paul,
Even at the end.
Paul was there at the end with me. And John turned around and said, "Paul, you've got my blessing to get married to her." And I just thought that was so, so lovely.
Yeah.
You know.
So when all this, I mean, I know about John's illness, but obviously everyone else doesn't. I mean, how was that, I mean, tell us about it, because a lot of people want the background to it. And
I had a phone call off from my dad. He was living in Coventry at the time, and typical dad. Oh, I'm in a bit of a mess, Bab.
Played golf in America. That's what started it off.
Yeah, I'm in a bit of a mess, Bab. You're on about the cancer, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah.
So Bab, that was his saying, Bab. Can you meet me at New Street Station by the ramp? Do you remember the ramp, Pete? By McDonald's?
Yeah. I've been arrested there many a time. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I met him. I went and drove into Birmingham, and as I'm walking up the ramp, honest to God, Pete, I went sick, because all I could see, this tumour was the size of a golf ball. It was massive. And I said, "How long you had that then, Dad?" Trying not to look alarmed, because I didn't want to scare him, expecting him to say, "Oh, a couple of weeks." Oh, he said, "I've had it 6 months, Bab. I thought it'd go away." I was like panicking inside, but didn't want to show him. So I said, "Right, what we're going to do, we're going to drive up to Coventry now. We're going to go and get you some clothes, and I'm going to take you back to Bewdey, which is where I've not long moved to." Rang my husband on the way, and I said, "Look, I'm bringing Dad." I said, "Try not to look alarmed when you see him, but he's in a bit of a mess." Anyway, from there, I got him appointments at the GPs, who sent an emergency referral back to Selly Oak, as it was back in the day before it shut. They did a biopsy, but we knew what it was. And Roy and myself went back within 2 weeks later and confirmed that he'd got a massive tumour here. Anyway, they scheduled an op for him in Coventry. Mum, bless her, they weren't together at the time, but Mum and I went up to see him before he went into the operating theatre. 12 hours he was in there. Mum and I walked round the grounds. It was a long time, wasn't it, Mum? Anyway, he came round, and I was saying to Steve, he was in such a mess. He got these tubes coming out of him, blood everywhere. And I won't swear, but he said, "See him over there, this bloke that was like opposite, and he was high on morphine." He went, "Do I look like I've got aftershave on, Bab?" I went, "What do you mean, Dad?" He went, "See him? He's just come up to me and asked me if he can borrow some of my aftershave." He said, "Is he taking the pee?" Anyway, typical Dad. So we brought him back to ours for rehabilitation. He stayed for 6 months. And I was saying to Steve, it was, as I said earlier, I loved having him. Then he went on to meet somebody, and he lived at Little Lakes Golf Club. Of course, he was in his element there. And again, I had a phone call to say, "I'm really not well." And took him to hospital a week later. He had a CT scan, and went up to the hospital, and the consultant said, "I'm afraid it's not good news," and he was quite blunt about it. And he said, "Well, has the cancer come back?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "But it is in your bones." He said, "It's everywhere." So Dad said, "Well, how long are you talking?" He said, "Because my babby has just bought a house in Spain." I'll never forget it. He went, "And I'm going in January to see her house." He was so proud. This was in November. He said, "You're not going to make it, John?" And he said, "Well, how many months have I got?" He said, "You've probably got about 6 weeks." And then we wanted him to come back to mine, but I couldn't have him because I'd got 2 small children. I didn't want them to be scared. So he went into Homewood in Kidderminster, and he died about 3 weeks later on the 23rd of December, just 2 days before Christmas. But when the consultant said about his diagnosis, I was saying to Steve, he just said, well, you know, he said, I've had a fantastic life. He said, I lived the dream that people don't get to do. He said, why not me? And I think that made it even sadder because he took it so gracious. Do you know what I mean?
Sad.
He was so brave.
It was sad.
Really brave. But he was so young.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember him dying, as I said to you earlier. You know, we was in a box on a Boxing Day, but I think Blues were playing Derby actually, and on the Boxing Day, and I was with a few of the lads in one of the boxes.
We lost 4-0.
You don't have to mention it, Pete. We was having a drink, you know, sort of on, you know, for John, you know, because it had just been announced, and you know, a couple of people said, you know, John died a couple of days ago, you know, everyone was really sad. And Boxing Day, you know, we had a bit of a drink and talking about memories of him, you know, and we're doing it again now, you know, which is nice, isn't it?
Well, it's lovely. I mean, he died, and I think for the same that I can't remember. Tom Ross rang me, you know, Tom Ross.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to speak to Birmingham. I'm still in touch with Tom now about wearing black armbands for your dad. And I tell you, when they came out all those years, it was lovely.
What happened was they played at home on the Friday night, and it was televised.
And it was on the telly, wasn't it? And I remember me and Mum and Paul, actually, we all sat together and watched it. And I looked over at Mum, and the tears were just rolling down her face. And I cried as well, because it was sad. It was sad, but it was just such a respectful thing for Birmingham to do, which was lovely. And they were lovely, and they sent him some beautiful flowers at his funeral, Pete, BCFC in blue and white. So they were respectful to the end with him, which was lovely.
That is nice. I mean, that was the Chinese owners as well, then, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, I wish them.
So with the era that Johnny played and whatever, it's not like today when there's footage of every single game that goes on.
Yeah.
Not that much of Johnny. There's obviously the 68 semi-final against West Brom. There's sort of like there's a 45-minute video of
Chelsea.
But I've got this one clip, and it's just brilliant. Blues was playing away at QPR. We got beat 5-2 and whatever. And he does this absolutely outrageous thing of like a full-length dive to catch the ball in the middle. I'll put it up on the thing. So I've still got. It's one of the funniest things you've ever seen on the. You know that it's just stopped the whole. You know what the. You know, I was going, what's he doing?
He caught the ball.
Yeah, he's just took this ball. It was a great catch, to be fair, like, you know. But I mean, what the hell's going on here? Hey, I'll put it up after honestly.
Yeah.
But no, it is a shame that a lot of his stuff is in our memories and not for other people to see.
Yeah.
It's like he was a fantastic table tennis player as well.
Oh,
Nobody knew that. He got asked to play for the county, didn't he? He was amazing.
He played for the county table tennis. He played off 7 golf and football. He was an all-rounder.
He just got an eye for a ball, hadn't he? Clearly.
Yeah, that's it. It's that eye to ball thing.
Talent. So much talent. But like Mum said to me over the years, he never used to go in for, have I got this right, Mum? Correct me if I'm wrong, for a lot of tackles, had he? He wasn't that sort of player, was he?
No, he wasn't
a hard player.
No, that's what we said earlier. He wasn't a George Smith. He was a John Vincent.
George Smith, he was saying,
completely different players.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's fantastic, you know, to hear your memories of him, and thanks so much for sharing them with us, because
we've got so many more that we could that Mum and I privately that we would never be able to share.
wag.
Oh, don't.
Maybe one day, Steve, if we come over to Spain and we have a drink, then we'll tell you the real stories.
Definitely, you're only up the road, really.
When we come over to Spain, we'll come and see you.
Yeah,
and have
we
a
will.
toss.
Yeah, you're only an hour away.
Is it an
Yeah.
hour's driving?
Make sure you've got the recorder on, Steve.
Pardon?
Just make sure you've got the tape recorder on.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Steve, is your house an hour from mine? Driving, is it?
yeah, about that. Yeah, because you're like 20 minutes north of Alicante, aren't you?
Yeah, it'd be nice actually to come over.
I'm 40 hours south. I'm near Torrevieja.
Oh, okay. So instead of going left out the airport, you go right.
You go
don't you?
right, yeah. Same
So-
road.
Yeah, I know.
332 goes all the way down the coast, doesn't it?
Well, but next time we come,
We've been to Torrevieja a few
we'll
times.
have to bring Mum as we'll have to go and have a
And
drink.
we've been to Torrevieja
Yeah.
because a friend of ours had an apartment there.
Yeah,
Do you
it'd be
remember?
lovely to meet up. You can come as well, Pete. You'll have to
You
fly
come-
over.
You
I've
come in-
invited him over already, but I don't think he can come because he's a dad, isn't
Yeah, but they're
Uh,
grown up, ain't they?
No.
If you want to come to Winley Castle instead of Spain, you're more than welcome.
You know what, Pete? Do you mind if I go to Spain instead?
Pete, don't worry, I'll come and see you in Wheelie Castle.
he? But going back,
You know
to what we were saying now, you know, it's really brilliant of you to share your memories like that.
Our pleasure.
It's
I've
going to
loved
be
everything.
it's going to be so interesting to a lot of people, you know. I think it's nice for you as well to be able to sort of, you know, tell people about how great your dad, your dad and your partner were, you know, because or husband, because he really was a well-respected and well-liked man, wasn't he? You know, and it's nice, I think, for you to bring the memories back to like potentially 15, 16,000 people that are on our, you know, our social media. I think
just hope it gives people a little bit, and that's what I
Insight.
thought about. Yeah, when
Insight
our mum
into-
asked me to do it, I thought it'd be nice to give something back to the people that watched him play.
Yeah.
Not only as a footballer, but to give an insight into just what a fantastic person.
But you
that's
know,
the thing, isn't it?
I wish that John and Paul could see Birmingham now as it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I feel sad that I think they're going to miss the best times.
They can't. They're still
You
watching,
know,
Mum.
yeah.
Oh, that's a nice puppy.
There you just wanted to say hello.
Hello.
It's got nice eyes.
Isn't
Don't
it?
let Reg see him.
It's lovely.
Steve, you must keep in touch though, because we're on Messenger now, aren't we?
Of course we will. Yeah, you know, and don't forget, you're always welcome on the group. I mean, you said yourself actually, didn't you, Nat, earlier, that you've recovered a friendship from many years ago by coming onto the group.
I can't believe it. It's reconnected with me. I was saying, Pete, I sang in a girl band when I was 16, and this guy came on the post and said, "Oh, I think you know my wife." And it transpires that we were in a girl band together when we were both 16, and I haven't spoken to this girl. So it's reunited me with people of my past as well. So it's just been a positive experience for everybody, hasn't it, Mum?
This project, I must say, this project to me, it was like being a Birmingham City supporter. Now it's like one big family.
It's lovely.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, the project is good, like, because we do a lot of community work as well, you know. So we get all the kits for the kids, and we send the kids to matches.
Fantastic.
I mean, Mum's told me what you do because I wasn't aware of it, about what you do
wonderful
for the community and what you do for children. And I just think, I think it's fantastic what you do.
Yeah, and
Steve.
it's
You should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all of us, though. You know, every member of the project, anyone that puts money towards those kids' kits and take into the matches. I mean, all we do is initiate it, you know, and then other people drive it. And the nice thing about it is it's all very respectful. You don't get idiots in our group, you know, that you get in others, thankfully. And it's a nice plan, like you said. You know, the way we look at it, Pauline, is it's like a family, you know, and it really is. You know, we'll have your respect for each other, you know. I've got to ask you something, Natalie. What was the name of your band?
Je t'aime.
Oh, risky.
And you know, this is a true story. I was 16 years old and we had an agent. What was the Eric Bristow? We were in his pub playing in Stoke.
Yeah.
And Eva Clarence, the name was, I can remember it now. And she came up to me and she said, we want to send you to Dubai. Anyway, cut a very long story short, I begged my dad and my mum.
He seems like dad said you're not going
You're not bloody going to Dubai, he said it. Anyway, I begged him. Anyway, so we got the contract to go to Dubai. We were going for 6 months, which is massive at 16, but they were older than me. Anyway, we got a female drummer because that was like the group was all girls. Didn't she break her arm 2 days before we were due to fly out to Dubai? Yeah,
fell off the stool.
Putting the Christmas decorations up. We managed to get a replacement drummer, but he was a bloke. Rang the hotel and said, well, we're still coming, but now there's a bloke in the group. And they went, no, we don't want you. I was absolutely gutted, Steve.
They wanted 4 girls.
Yeah.
Crap is that? No, you see, you could have had another star on your hands there, Pauline.
Oh no, Steve, I can't forget my gorgeous granddaughter.
Yeah.
Georgia. She's 30. Oh, what a superstar she should have been. She did. She went to stage school for a lot of years, didn't she?
Since the age of 3, yeah.
And I asked her to do a film. She went for this audition. Do you know Kathy Burke, or did you know of her?
Yeah.
She
and
did
Max Beasley was in
and
it
Max
as well.
Beasley. Max, I've got the letter now. Max Beasley sent to her. You are a superstar, Georgia. And she did the film with them, Anita and me.
Have a look. You won't know it, but have a look for it, and you'll see her. So we basically lived in Nottingham for 6 months. Poor Roy was left with a 6-month-old baby.
No, she means
And my mum.
No. Yeah. And yes, she was. It was either go to university or go on the stage, and
And
she
I
chose
thought,
university.
well, no, she didn't. I chose it for her.
Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, well, no, that's nice. You know, it's brilliant, and it's been a really enjoyable. Well, it would have been an hour and a half if Pete could have got his computer.
No, thank you so much for inviting
Thank
us.
you, Steve. Thank you, Pete.
Well,
I've enjoyed it. This all came. Sorry, Pete. Go on.
I was going to say, I was just saying to the girls, I'll see them in Wheelie Castle in a bit, yeah?
Down the Wheelie Castle Workingmen's Club, by the way.
Well, then that's still going. The Raven's been knocked down.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I've worked at the Wheelie Men,
Working
I've done a few
Wheelie
shows
Castle,
there. Yeah.
I'll see you down there, Pete.
I wouldn't recognise Brum now. I wouldn't. I wouldn't know
No,
around.
it's horrible.
What?
It's not.
Oh no.
Birmingham, we sometimes get the train and go early doors and have a few drinks. I won't go overnight. I'm actually quite scared of a night now. And it was my like it was yours, Steve. You know, when we was younger, nightclubbing, you wouldn't want to now. It's so diverse now.
My dog's breakfast.
How's Reg, Steve?
Right,
I can hear him. Actually, I did hear him move, but he's just moved position in his sleep, so he's all right.
I'm gonna have to go because I'm gonna have to go to the ladies' room. It's an age thing.
Girls, we're gonna finish it now anyway. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much. Pauline, absolutely brilliant. It's lovely of you to share your memories and stay with us on the project. And we'll keep in touch.
I'll post that thing up of Johnny doing his handball. It'll kill you. It really will. It's brilliant.
Nice to meet you too, Pete.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
Love to you.
Love to you both. Take care.
Guys, see you.
Bye.
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 Well, I haven't left yet. Now I am. Bye.